Welcome to the Make You Famous podcast, where host Jeffrey Goldsmith talks with guests about fame and how to achieve it.
I'm your host, Jeffrey Goldsmith, and check out the book at makeyoufamous.co.
So welcome, Tunji. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to start with like how we met, which is through Yona Backer, who I knew from many years ago, and so did you. And then on a trip back to New York with my kids, we met up. And we met your amazing, famous dog.
Yes.
And and I've been, learning about how, I visited your studio on Bond Street, and we talked about Japan and Barney's and doing clothing for opera and dressing famous people. And now you're going back to Japan. So what's the plan? And what's behind you? Maybe talk about the clothing that's on the rack behind you before we talk about Japan.
It's a mix of things right now, but it's all part of my ready-to-wear, some, and a project that I'm working on for a museum exhibition in Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh, we talked about Lego, so that's happening too. Okay.
That's ongoing. It's just taking longer than expected because there's always like life in between that comes through. And
a lot of people get frustrated by that. Like, oh my God, it's taking forever, but everything takes longer than you think, right?
Well, yeah, it's all depends on sometimes it depends on capital. Most of the time it depends on capital. Right. Because you have a project that's based on your artistic interest, and then you got the business part that you have to for daily living and running some kind of business. And that's, you got those two components that you're trying to bring together.
Right.
And the delays in that.
Exactly. So tell me, let's talk about what's happening in Japan. You're going there again, and you've sold designs there before and worked with Japanese companies. What's the plan with Tokyo?
Well, Tokyo was the first place where Kobayashi, this clutch company, sponsored me many years ago, and they were the first one to introduce me to Japan when I was working in Tokyo for many years. And they were able to set me up in terms of factory distribution, the capital to my staff. Everything was set up. All I had to do was create ideas, pick up fabrics, just create stuff. But they recognized more of my artistic side versus the ready-to-wear side.
Right.
Then they were able to hire a marketing person, the pattern makers, everyone to make it work so I could continue to just do what I do. And that's what makes Japan more interesting for me, because they see potential in the artistic side, but then they understand not every artist knows the side of the business. And that's still the same till today for me.
Right.
There's always this struggle to figure out how to get your stuff seen, sold, distributed, and while in the meantime, you keep creating stuff. And for me, in my case, as an artist, I'm always trying to explore many different things. So I'm not just like, I draw, I paint, I'm making some kind of sculpture, something. I just don't know how to keep my mind straight on just making clothes.
I got it. When you go to Japan, I want to introduce you to someone named Martin Webb, who I actually also interviewed. And he owns a company called Communion. He used to be the head of marketing for Marc Jacobs Japan. And he's a cool guy. So I'm going to introduce you to him, and then maybe we can do a three-way interview if that works out. But he knows a lot of people in fashion in Tokyo, actually.
That could be nice. Well, that's one reason why I'm going back. So I've been gone away a long time that I need to I need to reconnect with my my old contacts. I have grown since then. I mean, I've been working on new things.
Right.
And I feel more comfortable now than I think I ever felt then. There's a sense of freedom now to not having the pressure to think about how am I going to sell this first versus what I'm making. Exactly what I'm there. And now that I have stuff, I'm thinking it's a good time to go back there, reintroduce myself, meet new people, because definitely I'm going to do that. Now that I have new images and things that I can actually show, this is my direction now. But then it's going to lead to something bigger, because I have a vision for where I want to take it.
Where do you want to take it?
Well, it's not just a one-time exhibition thing. And I always thought, like, I've done fashion shows all the time. people were not accessible to the shows. I mean, people don't get to see closely except for the buyers or the stylist or. So I thought, if I do something that can remain in a space for at least 2 weeks, a month, who knows, there's an access to everyone. And somewhere to educate people in terms of the journey that it took to get from this one thing to this thing that they're looking at, So, and what it could do and where I want to go with it. And the idea is that once I exhibit this stuff, that will create some kind of a sense of like renaissance of my work, that then could lead me to make some ready-to-wear product from that.
I remember some interesting things about your work is like boiling these synthetic fabrics or rubberizing cotton. I remember my daughter trying on one of these crazy wraps when she was like 12 that looked just so amorphous, but once you put it on, she looked perfect.
That's the fun part of me, is like I dabbled in all these things because I always feel like the studio was like a laboratory where you try to figure out what works. And many times it's because if you don't have the capital, for example, to buy certain things, or you don't find what you need or you're looking for, you try to create it and mimic it in some ways with other material.
But maybe that's the key for you, Tunji, is not to worry about the capital and not to worry about the business, but to find an entity that wants to promote you as designer and help you with the business end of it.
That's the main thing. That's what I'm always looking for.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
What happens is that I have to feel like I have to prove myself to whomever is going to do that. So as a result of it, I'm constantly making new of something that I feel is very true to me, that I feel like it's going to connect to the audience that's going to purchase what it is that I make or get some kind of interest in it. So I am making those things not just because I want to hang it and to know my ego. It's mainly to make some kind of connection.
No, it's not about your ego. This is what you do. This is your handicraft. This is your vocation. It's like, it's what you do.
But the question which you also posed to me is like, how can you be so talented? That's what they say about me. Not me. That's not me saying this. I do what I do because
you are. Okay.
Now, one is sometimes there is a part of like not wanting to get known, like being famous and all that stuff, and just being able to make what I do in my own comfort zone.
Right.
On the other hand, you're feeling like basically what you're trying to do is to get the stuff to not to think about, is it going to sell or not?
Right.
And then so you get caught up in that world where they say, why are you so talented, but why haven't you made it?
Right.
You haven't made it. So for me, being talented, I don't connect it to fame, and I don't connect it to like a time thing where I've made it, because I'm still working, I'm still creating, I'm still searching. So for me, I haven't made it because but I'm still here. I mean, I'm still doing it. Obviously, there's something that's still keeping me going. I didn't stop making it and maybe get another job, even though that could be another idea. But there is this belief that I know that I'm doing something right. It feels right. It feels good. And I think there's an audience out there that wants this, what I do.
Yeah, and this is a great lesson for young people, because I ask, everybody who comes on my show, what advice do you have? And you just gave it. It's like, don't think of this as trying to make it. Think of it as just doing what you want to do and continuing to do it. And in that way, you have made it, because you're still producing fashion. You've been doing it for 30 years, or something like that.
Just got more experience in it. And time limit. Time doesn't stop.
Nope.
So it doesn't stop for me. It won't stop for anybody else. And then each time it's just to explore.
Yeah.
Where can I go with it? How far can I go with it?
Yep.
And then somehow people will catch on with that. Maybe some people haven't caught on with me. I was in Tokyo. There was a lot of people buying my stuff. Things change. It ended in a way with the company, but it didn't end. As a matter of fact, I'm going to meet up with them again, because they're still doing things like I'm doing, the fashion thing. And And, so I'm going to meet up with them again and talk to them more about where I am, show a few things that I do, and then see what comes from it. But I have matured, I have grown, I've understood more how business can be, how I can translate something to business. That much I've learned. I know that, I just need to be able to express it to other people in terms of like, and see my vision in terms of like how marketing, they could market me.
Right.
To the next thing.
Yeah.
But I do know that the base of it is that it is something that can be lucrative.
Well, maybe this video can help with maybe this is the kickoff of the marketing of Tunji Dada.
Who knows? Sometimes I don't know. Is it branding?
I hope it helps.
I hear there are things about branding and things, and I'm not in that world that I understand how that works. All I know is that I could do this thing, but then I'm thinking, okay, but there's got to be some kind of machinery that's going to actually take it from there into the other part, which I don't know. I don't know how to there's no energy, so you can't do it all, basically.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
no,
you make
nobody
it
does.
So, so you're hoping that once the work, like they say, once you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Someone needs to put a sign out on the street, and then people see the sign, and then they come in, and then they need to, you need to call a journalist and say, hey, you got to meet this guy, Tunji Dada, he's coming to Tokyo. And then they meet you, and then they write an article about you, and then.
There we go. That's it's like some kind of chronology that goes.
Well, it's a machine. I mean, that's what my book's about. It's like a million ideas how to do that.
It's a machine, no doubt. And I understand it now. I think with time and age, we're growing, and at the same time we're learning. And now I understand that that's what he needed. But in the past, I was never really concerned as much about it,
But as you get older, though, I mean, when creative people are young, you're like, oh, this is going to be fine. It's all going to work out. And then you get older, and you're like, oh my God, I need to make some money. That's what happens. I felt it, and I'm with you.
That's in, right? But also there's a part that you've gotten better at what you do.
Definitely.
I've done it for long. I know how to. I take this fabric. I know what's going to happen to it, and I know what I want to do with it.
So describe one of your crazy processes.
Which one? Processing. Well,
yeah,
today I'm working with a girl who wrote a book. It's abstract, 5 chapters, and it's conceptual in my way of looking at or reading it. It sometimes doesn't make any sense, but then at the same time there are words that makes the book. So the words are then picked up, and I will pick up the word, and I'll think, okay, when I think about this word, what do I feel? I'll just grab some kind of material that attracts me, and then I will say, okay, it's white, but I want to dye it, and I'll get this color. But I'm trying to find a way to make sense of these words, and then after that process, then I was thinking, okay, all my life I've made patterns, I've always made something with a neck and a sleeve, and then I thought, okay, now why don't I work without it? Just go to the mannequin and just drape. I've always draped. I've always been draping for years, but I've never draped in a way where it's not connected to some kind of pattern, and then but right now it's very free way of working, and so it's a collaboration that is taking me somewhere where I'm feeling very happy about it.
That's pretty cool. Can you show us some of the fabrics behind you let's grab a piece, just grab one.
Like you see, this is something. It looks like just fabric that just flows.
Yeah.
It's got holes in it. It's got drawstrings there. But when you put it on, which I'm gonna send you photograph when I afterwards,
okay,
and actually see what this is about. So it's somebody's work. So it's her poetry, and I am writing my own poetry of my own story from there, using materials that I know very well. And shapes that I feel is controlling by the words. So I'm going with the feeling of what I have, and it's a momentary thing, and sometimes it's a long-term thing. Like it will take time because you get stuck, but not like stuck like, oh, you can't create anymore. But it's like you're writing, and at some point you have to like take a break and try to figure out where the story is going. And so that's the journey I'm on right now. Is where I'm telling a story and I'm trying to figure out where the story is going. That makes sense to her book because it's a collaboration.
That's the journey everybody with an examined life is on. We're all like trying to figure out what the story is. I'm trying to figure out what the story is with these interviews. I'm like, I did this 20 years ago and now I'm starting to do it again. What am I going to do this? And even as you were talking, I was like, maybe I should send this to Martin Webb. Maybe there's a fashion blog in Tokyo. Maybe I can get this posted before you go.
Anything is fun.
So Clutch is now called Cul-de-sac, and they're making sort of home products out of hiba, which is Japanese cedar.
Yes, hiba. So my friend Muraguchi started to develop her father's old business and to other products that has a lot to do with like things like wellness, incense and oils and things that gives you that calm when you go to your home kind of thing, right? And she did this expo at the Maison et Objet in Paris.
Right.
So then I went to meet them there because I thought that's another interesting product that I can work with them maybe or do something. It's new and they're doing a sale to ABC Homes now.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. So they're starting very nicely. They're well positioned. And so I'm going to meet her there as well. So it's not just the fashion thing because they do that. And now they have this stuff. So I think it's all about wellness and clothing is a part of it, obviously, because the Maison et Objet was all about that, toys, home stuff, everything. So it's all about wellness, connecting with people and in where they want more comfort. So that's what I'm going to meet them for that as well.
Right. Maison des Objets, for people who don't speak French or know that world, it's like a huge home design show in Paris. Yeah,
it happens twice a year, and it's a massive show. Interesting. For 5 days it goes on.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to educate yourself. For me, I was blown away from all the products that people are creating all over the world. Everyone. So for that situation, it was the best thing to have done to just go there and educate yourself what's going on around the world in design.
Yeah, interesting. So maybe you'll work on something with them or a home design because you were working on those coasters for years.
Right? They used to sell my coasters in their shop. So I want to revive that because at the time it wasn't quite ready to go into the market, and now we've refined it. And now I want to take it with me and then try to see what is possible that they can still do. If not them, who do they know? I mean, that's the whole thing. There's a bunch of I could be connected to and see. So, but they were my base. They were the first people I met there, and they're still in my world. So I'm very comfortable with them. Got to see like old friends and we connected and stuff.
I used to have this, I used to say, only work with your friends, but then a friend of mine, a Japanese friend who works at New People here in San Francisco, a Japanese sort of, outpost, he said, yeah, same page people. It's like, that's a better way of looking at it. It's like you want to work with people that are like-minded about how things work.
Very true. Same page. The reason why we probably stay all together till now is because they were the first one who saw what I did the first time out of school here in New York. And they say, this, we love it. They say psycho, which means this is something they love. So as a result of it, we started working together ever since. And they were the only ones who actually did remain till now. So you can see, same page. We're all on the same page.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, I'll see you on the same page.
Right, brother.
All right, pal.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to check out the book at makeyoufamous.co.